students, in this video we will cover the topic code rules. Now, Dr. E.F. Code developed the relational data model in 1970, and in 1985 Dr. Code published a list of 12 rules that defines an ideal relational databases. Now, before coming on to the 12 code rules, there is a rule 0 which states that the system must qualify as relational, as a database, and as a management system. So, the system must qualify all the three terms of relational database management system. And for a system to qualify as a relational database management system, that system must use its relational facilities to manage the database. So let us start with rule 1, which is very simple. This rule is known as information rule, and it states that all data should be presented in table form. As we have already done in relational data model, that data is presented in the form of table because the table form gives ease and flexibility to access data. When the data is arranged in a tabular form, it is very easy to access the data. So second rule is known as guaranteed access rule, which states that all data should be accessible without ambiguity. Means we should be able to access all the data from the database without any problem. And each unique piece of data should be accessible by table name, primary key, and other attributes. As you all know that for retrieving the data, we should know the table name, relation name, we should know the primary key and other attributes which we want to retrieve. Third rule is comprehensive data sublanguage rule, which states that the database must support at least one clearly defined language that includes functionality for data definition, data manipulation, data integrity, and database transaction control like SQL. As you all know, with the help of structured query language, we can easily define the data, manipulate the data, we can do database transaction control. So the database must support at least one clearly defined language like SQL. Fourth rule is view updating rule. Now the data can be presented in different logical combinations called views. As you all know, a view is a subset of database, and there can be many different views of a particular database. So each view should support the same full range of data manipulation that has access to a table available. Next rule is known as high level insert, update, delete. Now, the data can be retrieved from a relational database in sets constructed of data from various row or multiple tables. This rule states that insert, update, and delete operations should be supported for any retrievable set rather than just for a single row in a single table. Means the operations like insert, update, or delete should not be only for just a single row. It should support a set of rows. Next is physical data independence. Now, as you all know, what is data independence? Data independence is if we make any change to a particular level that should not affect the higher levels. This is data independence. Now, what is physical data independence? Changes to the physical level must not require a change to an application based on the structure. Means if we make any changes to the physical level, that should not affect the conceptual or external levels. Next, seventh rule is logical data independence. Now, changes to the logical level must not require a change to the external view. Now, logical level is also known as conceptual level. So, if we make any changes to the conceptual level or logical level, that should not affect the external view. And logical data independence is more difficult to achieve than physical data independence. Rule 8 is integrity independence. Now, integrity constraints must be specified separately from application programs and stored in the catalog. And it must be possible to change such constraints as and when appropriate without unnecessarily affecting existing applications. So, integrity constraints should be specified separately from application programs and they are stored in the catalog. Rule 9th is non-subversion rule, which states that there should be no way to modify the database structure other than through the multiple row database language like SQL. As you all know that we can interact with the database only through a structured query language. So there should be no other way to modify the database structure other than SQL. Rule 10th is systematic treatment of null values. A field should be allowed to remain empty. This involves the support of a null value which is different from a zero value. Now, null value is not similar to a zero value. So, a field should be allowed to remain empty and we call that value null value. Suppose there is a difference between null value and zero value. Suppose there is a marks column and in that column a student has scored 0 marks. So that will be zero value, but null value is different. If a student has not given the exam, then the value for that attribute will be null. So there is a difference in null value and zero value. Next rule is data description rule. So a data dictionary should be present within RDBMS that is constructed from the tables which can be examined using SQL. As we know that the structure of the database is stored in data dictionary. So there should be a data dictionary present within a RDBMS. And last rule is distribution independence rule. It states that the distribution of portions of the database to various locations should be invisible to users of the database. Means users of the database should be unaware of where the database is stored, on which location the database is stored. This distribution of database to various locations should be invisible to the users of the database. So these are the 12 code rules. I hope you have understood the topic. Thank you.